Hey, welcome everyone to the movie theater lobby. I'm just gonna shuffle past you here. Excuse me. Okay, I'm Brandon. I'm just going to unlock the doors here to let us all in and... Oh, hi.
Oh, hey everyone, hey. I'm Leia. So what do you think?
I'm astonished. This is great. Typically I'm the one who gets up to mischief, and I wondered why you left so early today, but it seems like you've been busy this week.
So I felt inspired by your little labyrinth stunt.
Oh, right, a few weeks back.
I figured if you could do a goofy stunt like that to support that film, I figured I could make a kick-ass theme like this and make our lobby look grindhousey.
Yeah, I kind of dig it. I see you kind of laid down like a roughed up floor covering, kind of dirtied up the walls a little bit.
Yeah, like some fake peeling wood paneling, some dingy wall lighting. Oh, and check out this really retro-looking popcorn machine I found.
Yeah, I like that. That's
Nice,
really
huh?
cool. It really fits the aesthetic. That's great.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. I really wanted to give the movie lovers kind of that grindhouse feel, you know?
Yeah, I get it.
Did you know the term actually originated likely in the 1920s when there's certain theaters that ran on low budgets and they continuously had low prices, and they called it the grind policy. And it gained notoriety in the 1943 film Lady of Burlesque when a character referred to a burlesque theater as a grindhouse due to the kind of bump and grind dancing that took place there. Ooh la la.
Scandalous.
But it was more commonly used to refer to movie theaters.
Aside from being notoriously positioned in some kind of low-rent urban areas, and maybe not always having the best upkeep, it seems you did manage to hit the other hallmarks of the grindhouse experience as well.
Thank you.
I see you waived the admission costs today.
Low prices.
And I do notice you put that clever little sign there suggesting a star rating, perhaps wherever you listen to our show. Whatever you think you can spare as far as stars go.
Doesn't cost anything to give a star.
No. Low ticket prices is a hallmark of grindhouse theaters. Check on that one.
Check on that one. And as you can see, we've got quite the variety of movies. Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS. Faster Pussycat, Kill.
Right.
Coffee, starring the amazing Pam Grier.
Right, yeah, I like that one. Master
of the Flying Guillotine, Sex and Fury, and Last House on the Left, playing in 2 triple bills.
Ooh, nice.
So a wide range of movies, and playing them in succession, all in check.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So I think we got the list there, right?
Yeah, it also covers the poor quality, low merit, check mark. But honestly, I think these movies are pretty good.
Yeah, when they came out, they weren't really renowned as the highest quality, best movies ever.
No.
But
fun.
A little hindsight.
Yes.
Yeah, kind of adds them back in that fun category. Honestly, let's get on with the show then. I mean, we've got a lot to talk about here.
Yeah, we do.
We've got 2 triple bills that are running after this, like you said. So, yeah, we got to get things moving.
But Brandon. First, let's get a quick trailer in here for another great podcast y'all might like.
Ooh, okay.
When you just have to know when a movie is worth your time, or if it's just cluttering up your watch list, you should listen to The Never-Ending Watch List.
We're all getting fed up of endlessly scrolling for our next movie fix. So to get passionate about films again, join 3 movie mates on the Never-Ending Watchlist movie podcast, where we take you on a movie journey as we seek to build the ultimate movie watchlist.
Seen all of those films are absolute bangers.
Yeah,
absolute bangers.
Bangers.
I applaud you again, sir.
We deep dive specific movies to find out facts, theories, and funny takes, and ultimately decide whether a movie is worthy of being on the watchlist.
I can't recommend this film.
Oh!
We'll debate top 5s, rank directors' movies, and interview film fans just like you.
And she is an incredibly complex villain. She's fierce, she's immovable.
So whether you're a casual movie fan or hardened cinephile, we've got plenty for you to enjoy.
I got outvoted by the guy who chose the movie for this episode.
Join me, Damon Carter, Alex Hall, and Cam Young on the Never-Ending Watchlist movie podcast every week on Podcast Everywhere.
It's easier to find Cameron on Facebook than it is to find a plot in existence. Right, anyway, for now, it's farewell to Alex.
And Leia, I do like having a trailer before a movie. It kind of makes me feel like I'm ready for the cinematic experience. So, dear listeners, let's all settle in as we explore...
Death Proof!
Is it safe?
No, it's better than safe. It's death proof.
Death Proof, a 2007 release, which in the States was released as a double feature with Planet Terror as the title Grindhouse.
Yes.
However, everywhere else in the world, it released as its own movie.
Yep.
So, in US theaters, in the original Grindhouse presentation, we began this experience with a few "if only they were real" trailers.
Yes.
First one being Werewolf Women of the SS by Rob Zombie.
Werewolf Women of the SS. Written and directed by Rob Zombie.
Don't by Edgar Wright.
If you are thinking of seeing this film alone, don't. Don't.
And Thanksgiving.
From director Eli Roth. Thanksgiving. You'll come home for the holidays in a body bag.
By
That's
Eli
pretty good.
Roth. Thank you. And that one actually did get made into a movie in
It did.
2023.
Yes.
Which, honestly was pretty good.
Yeah, it was a
I
banger.
kinda liked it. But, as we mentioned, in the international and home video versions, we just get right into the movie,
Yeah.
which is what we're going to start doing right now. A few lingering shots of feet and legs carry us along through the start of the film. Get used to it, because we'll be seeing a lot of legs and feet. A trio of ladies ride comfortably, windows down, conversations up, as they head to Guero's restaurant and bar to kick off Jungle Julia's birthday celebration.
So what's the plan, man?
Margaritas, Mexican food at Guero's, touch base with Chris and Jesse, tell them about later, and make damn sure they come. Those other guys will be waiting for us to join them at the Texas Chili Parlor.
That lady you see in the back there, lounging across the back seat, that's Jungle Julia. Her friends, Shanna Banana as the driver, and Arlene, aka Butterfly, she rides shotgun. En route to their destination, we, as the viewers, get the chance to see that they're being tailed by a slick, black American muscle machine, a 1971 Chevy Nova. Jumping ahead a little bit after some more casual conversation and empty glasses, the quintuple set of ladies head from Guero's to the Texas Chili Parlor. In this particular fine establishment, Butterfly steps out for a smoke, and here she spots that unsettling but cool freaking car, the 71 Nova, once again in the dark and rainy parking lot.
It's cool, too.
It is a really cool,
Yeah.
badass looking machine
Yeah.
for sure. And I'm not much of a car guy, but that's a cool looking car.
Nice looking machine.
Finally, back inside, we meet the owner of that mean motherfucking machine, sitting at the bar with feathered hair and advertiser-bedecked jacket, is a man chowing down, nay, demolishing, a plate of messy, greasy nachos. And I mean, he's destroying it, digging into it like an uncivilized brute, fingers slathered in grease, cheese and sour cream, mouth glossy and dripping with saliva and oils, wet smacking noises slopping over the sound of the jukebox as the stoic hombre sucks and licks his fingers clean. This inconsiderate and unconsidered beast is Stuntman Mike.
The scene made you kind of sick, didn't it?
You know what?
I can tell. Those are some words.
nachos looked freaking delicious, but the close-up just
Yeah.
pure, unbridled. Oh, wow. Mr. Stuntman here chats up a blonde at the bar by the name of Pam, played by Rose McGowan. And he does, very gentlemanly, offer her a ride.
You offering me a ride home?
I'm offering you a lift. If, when I'm ready to leave, you are too.
We get a lot more conversation, a little bit of riposte and repartee. After all that, Stuntman Mike manages to ingratiate himself with the ladies that we've gotten to know, and manages to convince Butterfly to give him a lap dance.
You gotta give him a lap dance.
What?
If they call you Butterfly, buy you a drink, repeat that poem, you gotta give him a lap dance.
After said lap dance, all introduced parties so far convene in the parking lot, preparing to leave. Stuntman Mike, the gentleman that he is, accompanies Pam to his ride and tells her all about the death-proof, badass machine that she's about to ride in.
Give the stunt team the car you want to smash up, take her and reinforce that fucker everywhere, and voila. You got yourself a death-proof automobile.
However, at this point, I'm going to insert my own sort of missing reel here that you might find in an old Grindhouse movie, a little intermission of sorts, and jump us ahead a bit. 14 months later, and now we're introduced to a new set of ladies. First would be Zoe, played by Zoe Bell. Abernathy, fantastic name, by the way.
Yes.
Played by Rosario Dawson. Kim, played by Tracy Toms. And Lee, played by the ever-charming Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Each one of these fine ladies are involved in movie production, two of which happen to be some stunt performers. Zoe in particular, she's from New Zealand and she's here to hang out with her friends.
And don't call her an Aussie.
And don't call her an Aussie, unless you want to get your ass beat.
Zoe's from New Zealand, and you never, I repeat, never call a Kiwi an Aussie.
That is, unless you want your ass kicked.
But she's here with an ulterior motive. She is here, Leia.
Some dude is selling a stock 1970 Dodge Challenger with a 440 engine and a white paint job.
With a paint job precisely the same as that of the car from the movie Vanishing Point.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Kowalski. Kowalski from Vanishing Point. Mate, it's a fucking classic.
Every good gearhead knows that movie, and every good gearhead knows that car.
Yeah.
Not only is she here to drive that particular beast of a car, she's here to perform a stunt referred to as ship's mast.
If he lets us take it out on our own, I want to play ship's mast.
The foursome head out to find and quote-unquote borrow this Vanishing Point car and get ready to cause some trouble, but unbeknownst to them, they're about to find some unexpected trouble for themselves as well, trouble by the name of Stuntman Mike. Next, we see...
You wait here with Lee and we'll be back in a moment. What?
Oh, damn. Leia, did we just get left behind? I know Lee got left behind here, but it seems Abernathy, Kim, and Zoe just sped off without us. Well, I guess all we can do is just hang out here and chat a bit while we wait for them to come back, right?
I guess, yeah.
All right, here we go then.
And when are you thinking about leaving?
Truthfully, I'm not thinking about it. When I do, you will be the first to know.
So, Leia, now that we're back comfortably in our lobby, away from all the mischief that might come from the deeds that'll be performed with that Vanishing Point car, what are we going to talk about next?
So I think we'll talk about Quentin Tarantino, the director. And then, of course, Quentin Tarantino, we're not going to go into a lot of detail about him because every time we talk about him, we're going to try to give you some new information because otherwise it's just going to be the same information every time. And I'm pretty sure he's going to come up again. So I just want to give you a little information about Tarantino in his youth.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly, his mom actually reluctantly let him drop out of school at the age of 16.
Oh, way to go, Mom.
Yeah, she thought he'd learn a lesson. She figured if he dropped out of school, without an education, life would be difficult, and he would realize that school was important, and he'd go back to his lessons.
It's a way of thought.
Unfortunately, that's not how it went for his mother, but fortunately for Tarantino, being an extremely smart person, he said when he was asked if he ever went to film school, he tells them, no, I went to films. That was his school, was films, and he took it very seriously. And then he got his first job actually at the age of 16 in the film industry. So he told the person that he was going to work for that he was not 16, but
Step 1 check.
18. And he was an usher at the Pussycat Theater, which was a porn theater in Torrance, California.
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, so he started off strong.
Started off as every good entertainer does in the porn industry.
In the porn industry. And I think that's kind of also where he gets the ideas for this movie come from his love of grindhouse films with these, pornos, but there were also grindhouse pornos. There were films that were low budget, that kind of a grainy quality to probably not the greatest stories, but they were...
if any.
If any.
Well, and certainly, if he was a frequently goer of cinema, probably being that he dropped out of school at 16, didn't have a whole lot of disposable cash, leading to necessity, finding himself into the legitimate grindhouse theaters and just watching movie after movie after movie for one low-cost price.
When you see it as a kid, it makes you feel like you're a kid again, and those things kind of bring back good memories for most people, not all people, but for most people, some of those things bring back really good memories. So I can see why he has a affection for those. I also wanted to mention briefly, from where he started to where he is now, Tarantino's grossed a combined total of $2.5 billion worldwide at the box office. His biggest film being Django Unchained in 2012, that made $450 million.
Oh, hell.
Death Proof comes in at $14.5 million. He doesn't have a formal education, but that didn't stop him from being, this major player.
When you take a brilliant mind, they're going to find ways to achieve. Tarantino strikes me as the sort who is always in pursuit of knowledge and learning. school wasn't going to be something that was going to stop him.
No. And we talked about Running Scared and how he called Paul Walker and told him how great his film was and was supporting Paul Walker. And it's nice that he's done that because he's gotten to where he's at by not having education, but by being smart and by doing things that he felt were right.
Yeah.
I think it's good that he supports other actors the way that he does.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
he came from nothing. And so, he wants to give back to people who are struggling.
Yeah, I mean, it's not to say Tarantino's not without his controversies.
He's without his... he's got controversies.
Certainly, there's a few things that kind of swirl around this man. But for the most part, I mean, he's got...
I'm not saying he's a saint.
No,
don't get me wrong.
He's a great filmmaker, and he does support his fellow entertainment professionals.
One of the other things I did read, too, that made me kind of like him a little bit more. So he doesn't like CGI at all. He doesn't use CGI in anything.
Which is very
apparent.
Very apparent, especially with Death Proof.
But he also doesn't like to use anything that has animals being harmed or insects being harmed.
Oh, wow.
Those two things gross him out. So you'll never see a film where because he's got a lot of blood and gore in his films.
He does like blood and gore.
Have you ever seen a scene where they've got like bugs crawling all over somebody? I was thinking about it.
Yeah,
I don't think there is one.
Of any.
Yeah, because he doesn't like it.
Yeah.
He doesn't like that stuff.
All right, that's great.
So I thought that was really nice.
Yeah, super cool. I dig that.
And let's talk about Kurt Russell.
Let's talk about Kurt Russell.
Our big bad wolf here. Stuntman Mike. I always think of him from Escape from New York and The Thing and Big Trouble in Little China. Those are the big things.
Those are the biggest ones that always come to my mind.
Always.
The very first movie I ever saw him in, just because it would have been age appropriate for me at the time, was The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes.
Oh, I don't even know what that is.
It was a sort of lighthearted kind of family drama comedy thing.
Is it shameful that I don't know what that is?
No, not really.
Okay.
I
feel bad.
I will say when we were young, it was prominent enough that we would have come across it or not.
Yeah,
so,
or not.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. He also voiced Todd in The Fox and the Hound. More recently, he's been in Tombstone from '93, Bone Tomahawk, and The Hateful Eight.
Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Yep, he was Ego the Living Planet in Guardians of the Galaxy, which I thought he did really great.
Yeah, he did great in that one.
He's hilarious. Yeah. He's got a sense of humor, man.
He sure does.
And since we covered Running Scared, I'd also like to mention that he was a villain in Furious 7.
He was in Furious 7 as a villain, and then he was as every one of those movies ends, if you're in the movie, you become part of the family.
Yeah.
So he then became part of
family.
The Toretto family, and Fast 8 and 9 as well, of
course.
Mm-hmm. So
let's move on to our first set of girls.
Okay.
Sydney Tamia Portier.
Yeah, so Sydney Tamia Portier.
Daughter of the famous actor Sir Sidney Poitier.
Yep.
That was a name that was very familiar to me.
Yeah.
And I didn't make the connection just because I wasn't thinking about it. But when I read it, I was like, oh, duh.
Yeah.
Well, hello.
I mean, it's pretty apparent just in the name alone. But if you're not thinking about it,
I wasn't thinking about it
at all.
No. She earned a bachelor's degree in acting from NYU's Tisch University of Arts. She also studied at the Stellar Elder Studio of Acting, so she's got some accolades behind her belt.
She does.
She was in Veronica Mars, Grey's Anatomy. She was in The New Knight Rider and The New Hawaii Five-0, Chicago PD, Homecoming, and then 20 episodes of Carter. She's been in a lot of other things, but those are just kind of some mentions that
she sticks with a lot of TV roles primarily.
She does, primarily, yeah. So next there's Vanessa Ferletto. She started out modeling, and then she starred as Lizette Sanchez in John Leguizamo's boxing drama Undefeated.
Mm-hmm.
She's also, you ready for it?
Ready.
Law and Order. She's in Law and Order, CSI Miami, and CSI New York.
Yes, as Detective Aidan Byrne.
Yes, she did quite a long run in that, actually. So she's also in CSI New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
So she's in a lot of
NCIS New Orleans.
Oh, is it? I have CSI. And then she's in a couple shows that we're aware of. She was in 24, The Sopranos. She was in Spider-Man 2.
Yep.
She was also in Descent.
Yes.
Which also stars Rosario Dawson.
And we should disambiguate here, not the horror movie Descent about the bunch of girls that went into the cave.
Which I love. Also,
freaking fantastic horror movie. Absolutely
super
love
good.
it.
We have to do that one.
So super good. This is a drama piece.
Yes.
Dealing with rape and revenge.
Yeah, it's definitely not for everyone, but the ending is great.
A really good movie, honestly. I really liked it.
So next we'll talk about Jordan Ladd, all 5 foot of her.
Yeah, tiny little
She's a tiny
little
one.
person, but she's still great.
Yeah. Her mom is Cheryl Ladd, and if you don't know who that is, she played Chris Monroe in Charlie's Angels in 1977 when she replaced Farrah Fawcett's character.
And also voiced a character in Josie and the Pussycats.
Yep. She comes from, pretty high accolades. In 1994, she guest starred in an episode of the NBC series Saved by the Bell, The New Class.
Of course.
So she was in that. She's also known as the Scream Queen or a Scream Queen. There's a bunch of them. She's one of the Scream Queens. She's appeared in several successful horror films, including Cabin Fever, which, gosh, I love that movie so much.
Me too.
Club Dread. Of course, she's in Death Proof. And Grace. It's another one from 2009. Ladd is also known for work with director David Lynch, appearing in films Darkened Room and Inland Empire.
Inland Empire, yeah. And she was also in Hostel 2.
Oh, yeah. Gosh, I love that movie.
And it's worth noting for sure, her mother, as you mentioned, Cheryl Ladd, was in Charlie's Angels. Jordan Ladd showed up as 3-year-old Chris in Charlie's Angels.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
That's pretty cute.
Yeah.
I love that.
She was brought on set to play the 3-year-old version of her mom's character.
Aw.
Yeah, pretty cool.
What, one episode?
One episode.
Yeah, that's still adorable.
Yeah.
We're going to transition with Rose McGowan because she's kind of like in between those two girl groups.
Yeah.
And you can't really not talk about her because she's a big name.
Yeah,
and she was in both of the Grindhouse specials.
Yeah, she was in both Planet Terror and Death Proof.
Yeah, I think they put her in there to kind of transition it between the two groups of girls. And she looks completely different from the first film, Planet Terror, on purpose.
Yeah.
She had dark hair in Planet Terror, red lipstick. In this one, she's got light hair and like a lighter lipstick color. And she just looks like a completely different characters.
Oh, yeah.
She grew up in the Children of God cult. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah.
Same as the River Phoenix
the
group.
Phoenix family.
The Phoenix
River
family.
and Joaquin.
Yep.
Yep.
Got out of that and legally emancipated herself at age 15. She's been in a lot of different roles. She debuted in a brief role for Encino Man in 1992. She achieved recognition for her performance in The Doom Generation from 95.
Which is a great little podcast.
Yeah, right?
It's not about that movie,
No.
but it carries that name, and they like to kind of review and talk about movies and give kind of a cool little insight on things.
Yeah. So she received an Independent Spirit Award nomination for Best Debut Performance for that film.
In The Doom Generation, Rose McGowan took that role as Amy. However, the role of Amy was initially going to be cast with Jordan Ladd. So who we had just talked about.
Person connection there. Yeah. Huh. Her breakthrough role was in the horror film Scream from 96. She also did Going All the Way, Devil in the Flesh, and Jawbreaker. She was in the show Charmed from 2001 to 2006. So that was a long run on Charmed. I think a lot of people know her from that. Time recognized McGowan as one of the silence breakers, the magazine's Person of the Year for speaking out about sexual assault and harassment. It's in specific in regards to Harvey Weinstein.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Actually, she's one of 8 women that he had to pay settlement to because he raped her at the 1997 Sundance Film Festival. She's been a big voice for that, and she's also a huge voice for gay rights as well.
Oh, yeah. She's got a voice, and she's using it, for sure.
And speaking of voices, she also has a singing voice.
She does.
She performed 3 songs in the Planet Terror portion of Grindhouse, and she does a lot of singing. She also directs.
No reason for her to stop doing what she's doing.
Yeah, since she's moved on from acting a little bit, and she's doing more of the
behind the scenes,
the scenes stuff. But
she also was in Machete,
Machete,
which was again in the U.S. release of Grindhouse, the double feature Planet Terror with Death Proof. There was trailers before Planet Terror. And I think that one is the only trailer that remains intact on the individual home releases.
Yeah.
Because obviously that trailer was directed by Robert Rodriguez, who also did Planet Terror.
Right.
But that trailer then became the movie Machete.
Machete! All right, let's move on to Zoe Bell. She's probably, besides Rosario Dawson, she's my favorite character in this whole film.
I love Zoe Bell.
I'm obsessed
with her.
She is
so friggin' cool, man.
She's adorable. She's funny. She's She looks like a blast.
Oh, I would love to hang out with her any day of the week.
She has a background in gymnastics and martial arts.
Zoe is amazing. I mean, agility, reflexes, nimbleness. There's few human beings that can fuck with Zoe on that front.
So it plays really well into what she is today, which is mostly a stunt woman, but this film is actually her acting debut.
Right now, at this point, Leia, everything about her life that you've just mentioned is more impressive than everything about my life.
Right? Seriously. For me too. Not just for you.
Right.
For me too. She actually began working as a stunt woman when she doubled as Lucy Lawless in the TV series Xena Princess Warrior.
Yeah, good long run on that.
Back in 95. When that got canceled, she became a stunt double for Tarantino on Kill Bill 1 and 2 for Uma Thurman.
Exactly. And
so that's how they met.
That's where she got cast in this film.
Yeah.
She also has won awards for her stunt work, but particularly for Kill Bill Volume 2. If there's any question, she's damn good at her job.
She insisted she did all of her own stunts for this movie. So
while this was her first kind of starring role, and she's not particularly known for acting necessarily, more known for her stunt work. She should be, though. She also appeared in 4 episodes of Lost, because we love Lost. I can't not mention it when I see it. She also did have 1 episode in CSI Miami.
There you go.
So we got another CSI
connection.
And then small cameos in a bunch of Tarantino films, Django Unchained, Hateful Eight, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
So let's move on to Rosario Dawson. I absolutely freaking love her.
I'm enamored with her.
I'm actually obsessed with her. I think she's probably my favorite actress of all time. I'm sure people are like, yeah, right. But seriously, I love her to tears and pieces.
I can verify that.
Yeah. She actually comes from a really humble background. She was raised by normal people without acting careers. And then she was not even raised by her parents. Her parents got a divorce. She was mostly raised by her family members, kind of on and off. They were all poverty-stricken.
Yeah.
Some of them were ill. And so she really has a humble heart, I think,
she had a
because
hard
of her
coming up
background.
as well, yeah.
Her first foray into entertainment, though, was on Sesame Street.
Yeah.
That's not a bad place to start.
No, not bad at all.
She was about 16 when she was literally discovered on the steps of her home by screenwriter Harmony Korine to star in the movie Kids.
Yeah.
That's another sensitive film. She's in actually a lot of highly sensitive films. And I think that's her mission, is to be in films that mean something.
Yeah. I really loved Kids. That was another one I think we talked the other day about how
trigger warnings all over it.
Clerks, I just kind of rented it once, sight unseen. Same thing with Kids. I just saw it at my rental store, picked it up and watched it.
I think there's a lot of people who have never heard of that, movie. And it's intense. It's
really
a good
is,
movie.
yeah.
She also has interest in singing. So she's been involved in work with Prince, the Chemical Brothers, Outkast. She also co-starred with Oscar Isaac as Julia in the musical revival of Two Gentlemen of Verona, and she appeared in the Vagina Monologues.
Having spoken about Clerks very recently, she's appeared in a lot of other Kevin Smith films.
Yeah.
Not going to detail them. We'll detail that later.
She was in Clerks 2, correct?
She was in Clerks 2 and 3. Jay and Silent Bob reboot. I said I wasn't going to do that, but there I did it anyway.
There you did it anyway.
Obviously, The Descent, which you had just mentioned earlier. She was in another movie, which I think is worth mentioning here because we should have mentioned it with Zoe Bell, but she was in a movie called Raze, R-A-Z-E, about a bunch of women who get stuck in a combat arena sort of situation. Zoe Bell was the star of that movie. Rosario Dawson had a smaller part, and she was in a lot of the Marvel TV series back when those were running on Netflix. And of course, DC animated films where she voices Wonder Woman, and she's in Star Wars.
She was actually in the Star Wars Ahsoka series with Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who we were going to talk about in just a minute. She was also in a movie with Tracy Toms, which is Rent.
They all kind of stick together
all
pretty close.
Mingle a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and I was going to mention Rent too, so thank you for getting that out because you know me, like I've mentioned before, I love musicals.
Yeah.
It's a great one.
That was a good one, yeah.
Leia, can I please relay a personal anecdote?
Yes, of course. I mean, I guess maybe just this once.
Just this once?
Yeah.
Okay. So you and I had the chance to actually meet and talk with Rosario Dawson.
Probably why I love her so much, because she's so nice.
At San Diego Comic-Con, we had been walking through the autograph hall, and for some reason, somehow, nobody was at her table. So we just walked up and we got to talk to her for about 20 damn minutes.
Yeah.
Which was friggin' awesome. It was like a 2-on-1 conversation with us and her.
She was great.
We talked comic books because she co-created and co-wrote a comic book called OCT, Occult Crimes Task Force. So we were talking comic books. She insisted we go read, and I had heard of but never read any Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, but she insisted
we read it.
We go find it and read it. So we did, of course.
We did, yeah, of course. If Rosario Dawson tells you to do something, you do it.
Just like Warren in Death Proof. Warren says it, you do it.
You do it.
Such a charming, super nice, kind, just gracious person.
We're a little bit biased, I
think maybe.
All right, so let's move on to Tracy Toms.
Okay.
She started as Joanne in the musical Rent. We had just talked about Rent. She's played the same role in the film opposite Rosario Dawson and Idina Menzel. She's also been in Looper, Safe House, Cold Case, NCIS Los Angeles, recently in 911.
Also in Raise.
She
was also in Descent with Rosario.
She's kind of a big Broadway star. She does a lot of
theater.
She did graduate with a graduate degree in acting from New York City's renowned Juilliard School. So she's no slum when it comes to acting. She has 109 credits to her name.
So she is kind of quoted as saying that she saw Rent initially when it was on its original Broadway run. And seeing that play, that production, is what gave her the ambition to go audition for the role in the movie.
And she loved it so much.
And she got the part, as you mentioned, as Joanne. But as Rent was coming to its final run on Broadway, they asked her to come in and do the role of Joanne on stage on the Broadway play. So from July through September of 2008, she got to play Joanne on the stage in the Broadway run that gave her the ambition to audition for the movie Rent.
Mary Elizabeth Winstead, she's a pretty interesting character.
She really is.
First of all, she's not only just an actress, but she's also a recording artist.
Yeah.
And she performs under the name Gotta Girl alongside producer Dan the Automotor. She's musically inclined, which I think is pretty cool. Also married to my boyfriend, Ewan McGregor.
Oh, that must be rough.
I'm a little jealous of her, but I guess they've been married for a long time.
Yeah,
so
it's been
whatever.
a bit now, so.
But they met on the 3rd season of
Fargo.
Which is a show she was on. Her first major role, though, was in the NBC soap opera Passions, which was from 1999 to 2000. She was in 89 episodes of that.
Yeah, that soap opera-ish series kind of dealt really heavily in like paranormal, supernatural kind of thing. It was very different from your standard daytime soap operas.
Well, that's carried through with her career.
Yeah.
Because if you list off some of the stuff she's been in,
you'll find there's a theme.
Which is really interesting because when you look at her, you're like, I've seen her before, but I just don't remember where I've seen her. Because she just has a very, I don't know, she's just been in a lot of things.
She really has, yeah.
So kind of list off some of the stuff.
Let's do it.
Okay, there's a lot, but these are all the ones that I know her from.
Okay, well, we're getting a list then, folks. Ready?
Ring 2, Final Destination 3, Black Christmas.
2006 version.
The 2006 version.
There's 3 of them.
Yes. John McClane's daughter in Live Free or Die Hard.
And A Good Day to Die Hard. Scott Pilgrim versus the World. She played Mary Todd Lincoln in Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Did.
The Thing, the newer one.
The 2011 one.
Yep.
The lesser of the two.
Yeah, well, she was still in it. Nonetheless. 10 Cloverfield Lane, Swiss Army Man.
That was a movie.
Love, Death, and Robots. If you haven't checked that out, that's a great series.
Rosario also did a voice for Love, Death, and Robots.
There's, I think, a lot of cameos in that one. She was also Huntress in Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn.
There you go.
That is a long title.
It is.
And then, like I had mentioned before, she was in Ahsoka. She played Hera Syndulla. And there's more.
Yeah. The one other one I'm going to mention real fast just because it was a fun little action flick, Kate, where she played Kate.
Yeah. Is there anyone else you'd like to mention?
There's no one else I want to mention and go in detail on, but I'm going to just really quick mention. So obviously Tarantino showed up as Warren the bartender. Eli Roth showed up as Vav, one of the kind of boys trying to get in the pants of the girls. And Jason Loran, who played Jasper in this movie, also played Jasper in Kill Bill.
All right.
Yeah.
Gosh, he plays a weird guy in that.
Yeah, he does.
Both of those films.
Which, if you look at the implications of his character from Kill Bill, probably not the guy who would have left Lee alone.
No, kind of gross.
Let's move on.
Let's move on to some of the acclaim of the film because it's a little weird because of the way that it was released. I'm not going to go into legs because it's a little sticky.
Yeah,
when it comes to legs.
that doesn't really pan out well.
It doesn't work well because there's no legs for the standalone because it was international only.
Yeah.
If you did legs for the double feature, it doesn't really make sense because it's for both films.
Both films, yeah.
Domestic box office, it's $0.
Yeah, because of the domestic US.
Domestic
it was
US,
$0.
$0.
Grindhouse.
But the Grindhouse double feature did $25 million. Worldwide, the single feature did about $31 million. Grindhouse double feature only did 384,000 worldwide. Yeah. I should say worldwide. I should say international.
Yeah.
Opening weekend, there's not really any opening weekend because it came directly to DVD or it was international.
Mm-hmm.
So opening weekend, all I can say is for the Grindhouse double feature, it did about $11,600,000. This is on a production budget based on the Grindhouse double feature of $67 million. So it didn't do great, but it didn't do terrible
I
either.
think Death Proof itself, just that one segment, had a production budget of $30 million. Like you said, with all those numbers, it's really difficult to say what to attribute to what.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just numbers on top of numbers.
Yeah.
But all said and done, it didn't perform great.
It did better overseas. France loved it. They listed it as one of the 10 best pictures of 2007. It was number 2, tied with Inland Empire and Still Life. Not everybody thought it was terrible. And even Tarantino said, Death Proof has got to be the worst movie he's ever made. But then he said, and I quote, and for a left-handed movie, that wasn't so bad, all right? So if that's the worst I ever get, good.
Leia, I'm going to admit this right up top. I went into watching this movie like, okay, here we go, the worst Tarantino film.
It's still fun, wasn't it?
But it was still a fun ride.
Yeah.
And all said and done, after all this research, I do have kind of a new respect.
A new appreciation, right? This also was Quentin Tarantino's first film since Reservoir Dogs not to be at least nominated for any major award.
Yeah.
But that's in good company. Reservoir Dogs is a great film.
Oh, Reservoir Dogs is top-notch. Probably, if not my favorite Tarantino film, it's got to be in the top 2 or 3.
Kind of close up there. Okay, so it didn't get any major awards. Neither did Reservoir Dogs, and it probably should have.
And Reservoir Dogs definitely should.
Should have. Rose McGowan, however, she was nominated for a Saturn Award for Best Actress and a Scream Award for Best Scream Queen. It did get some awards, maybe not the film itself, but the people who were in it.
Yeah. And it did, when it was released, got kind of mixed reviews. In the States, obviously, it would have been reviewed alongside Planet Terror. Most reviewers would come down and say that this was the better of the two because Planet Terror, I really like Planet Terror. And I would say Planet Terror I prefer to Death Proof. However, it's intentionally schlocky and cheesy. And
it's got some one-liners where I'm like, they're groaners, man.
Yeah, for sure. And I like that stuff.
I know you do.
But a lot of critics just don't.
Yeah. I must be a critic.
Maybe. And I'm just the stupid American public.
Yeah, it's eating it up, eating it up.
It was often criticized for having just way overly long conversational scenes. And
which
most
I actually
of those,
really liked.
Yeah, the Tarantino can write dialogue, man.
He can.
He knows how to write a fun conversation.
I think there was even they timed it was like 21 minutes of them just sitting at a table.
No, I believe it.
He did it on purpose, intentionally.
Yeah.
He wanted it to just be like this long scene and just 21 minutes of them sitting.
If you look at how much action actually is meaningful and consequential in this film, you could cut this film way back.
Yeah. Let's talk about some general movie facts about this movie. So, how did Tarantino come up with the idea for Death Proof?
He was having what they say was a drunken conversation.
Yeah, those are some of the best.
They generally are.
Or they're the worst.
As long as you can remember them.
Yeah.
But he was having a drunken conversation with his friend Sean Penn. Tarantino at the time was kind of reminiscing about the car accident that was shown in Pulp Fiction, saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to go buy a Volvo because those cars are tough, and I don't want to die in a car accident like in Pulp Fiction.
I want to die in a car accident, Pulp Fiction.
Oh, die like that. So Sean Penn had kind of retorted saying, listen, you could take any car to a stunt team, give them $10,000 or $15,000, and they'll death proof it for you. That idea stuck in Tarantino's head.
He couldn't get it out, had to write it down.
That led to this movie.
I have to put that in a screenplay. So I'm never going to be able to get it out of my head.
The idea is not wrong. they have to death-proof pretty much every car, no matter what its initial quality is. If you're going to do a legit in-person stunt with it, it's got to be made into something someone's going to walk away from.
Back in the all or nothing days, vanishing point days, the Dirty Mary Crazy Larry days, the white line fever days, real cars smashing into real cars, real dumb people driving.
But Leia, when Tarantino first wrote down and finished his script, it wasn't named Death Proof.
It was named Thunderbolt.
Thunderbolt. Which
it shows up in the movie.
It does, very briefly.
Very briefly.
Before there's a title card that replaces it really fast and says Death Proof. And honestly, that is done intentionally.
Yeah.
Because in old grindhouse flicks, that sort of thing did commonly happen.
It did. I mean, they even physically scratched the tape to make it look archival and old and kind of ratty looking.
Because the whole idea with grindhouse films back in the day was they were so low budget, they couldn't have multiple copies to ship to every theater. One theater would get a set of reels, they would play them and use them. When their run was done, they would ship it off to another theater.
Yeah.
That
so by the time it gets to
all the handling, it would end up scratched up and dinged and taped together. That's why scenes are missing. So you'd have little jump cuts that we see in this film.
You do see those, And Tarantino being someone who doesn't really love a lot of digital makeover, I'm not surprised that he decided to just physically scratch it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which really does give it kind of that kind of old grindhouse look. And there are even intentional scenes in there where it's not scratched at all. But that's also a throwback to grindhouse and it not all being consistent. You may have a stretch where it's like pristine because nobody scratched it,
It kind of goes more into how this film is two separate movies because the first segment is all scratchy and dirty,
very
dingy.
Scratchy, yeah.
The second segment, very clean, very clear, crisp, pretty much the whole way through.
This actually is the only movie in the Tarantino verse that is completely in chronological order without any flashbacks. So it's a little different from his, normal, but he's trying to do a grindhouse film.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's not like his other films.
Well, and it's funny because when I was doing research on this film, Leia, I came across so many posts by Tarantino fanboys trying to do their damnedest to insist that the second half of the movie was actually a segment before chronologically the first half of the movie.
How?
Their argument was, if you're actually watching the movie, you'll realize how stupid this argument is. They're saying that, how do I say this without entering spoiler territory, huh? How about we get back to this when we hit our spoiler section?
Don't forget.
I'll try not to.
People are going to be real mad if you don't get back to it.
Or I'll just cut it out.
Yeah, right? Just like a grindhouse film.
That's right. Well, I'll never refer to it again. Missing scene here.
So this film also does include a lot of other movie references.
Oh, so.
I'm going to put a little blog posting on our website about the movie references, but Vanishing Point was one you'd already mentioned. Dirty Mary Crazy Larry is another film that it pays homage to. Bullet is another film. Dukes of Hazzard.
BJ and the Bear gets referenced. Convoy, Smokey and the Bandit. Big Trouble in Little China has a little reference in here.
Even a lot of the license plates that are in the movie specifically reference certain cars from these different movies.
I'm just going to mention those real quick because the cars are a big part of this movie. Stuntman Mike drives two different cars in this movie. The first one, the Chevy Nova. Its license plate is JJZ109, and that's a direct reference to the Mustang that's driven in Bullet. The 69 Dodge Charger that you see in the second half of the movie.
That the girls drive?
Nope, that's the one that he drives.
So he's driving a Charger too? They're both driving Chargers.
They're driving a Challenger.
Challenger, that's right. You know your car's better than you think you do.
Maybe. The Charger has a license plate 983DAN, and that is a reference to the green Charger driven in Dirty Mary Crazy Larry. Lee's Mustang is a direct reference to Eleanor from the original Gone in 60 Seconds. Very similar paint job, just a little bit tweaked differently. Exact same car. That same paint color scheme is also used in reference in Kill Bill. So there's a lot of kind of circling around that whole.
It's fun to think that Tarantino was just sitting around coming up with this film and he was literally making sure that he included all of these references to all of these different cars. It's like a car movie homage,
It really is, yeah.
At the end of the film, remember we were watching the end and there's all these pictures of these women. And I'm like, I wonder what that's all about. And it turns out that they're actually known as Kodak ladies.
Kodak ladies or China girls.
Or China girls.
Yeah.
And of course, China girl sounds kind of racist,
Yeah.
but it's really, they think it's likely because of the porcelain skin look, because they're mostly white women with like color blocks behind them. And
Yeah.
it was meant to confirm that the color quality and the clarity of the film was accurate when the print was made. And typically they were taken off the films, but of
Yes.
course, in these grindhouse films, sometimes they were left on or
Sometimes they
somebody
got
would
left
forget
on.
to take them off. And so
And-
there's these pictures of these women. Some of them look beautiful.
Yeah.
Some of them look awkward. And you're
Yeah.
like, what is going on? And
The
it's just because they're standing there
various
getting a picture taken.
various facial expressions.
Yeah.
And even when they were left on, the projectionist at the theater was supposed to not project that part of it.
And some of them are probably lazy.
Some of them just, especially in these lower quality cinemas where these
Pop it in
grindhouse
and
films
go.
were saw, they just load it up and go.
Yeah.
It is, however, sort of a thing with early projectionists like that where they would take snippings of the Kodak ladies or the China girls and have their own kind of collection.
Yeah. It was
of
like something
these.
they collected
Mhm.
that only they could have access to,
Yep.
kind of a thing.
Sort of like their own little projectionist tradition.
All right, so let's move on then and talk about the first segment of the movie. In the beginning, Vanessa Ferletto, who's Butterfly, she's drinking from a soda cup. The restaurant on the cup is the Mexican restaurant Acuna Boys, which is advertised during the transition between Planet Terror and Death Proof in the original Grindhouse double feature. It's also mentioned in Kill Bill 2 and in Jackie Brown.
In Kill Bill 2, Michael Parks, who was also in this movie, he played a character called Esteban Vijallo. And in that movie, he runs the Acuna Boys gang in Acuna, Mexico. Another connection to all of that, because Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez are such good friends, their kind of stuff intertwines a lot. El Mariachi is set in Acuna, Mexico as well.
That's crazy,
Boy,
the
it all
connections,
swirls
man.
around, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
I've got a few other things on fictional brands. People familiar with Tarantino stuff probably heard of Big Kahuna Burger. You would have seen it in, let's say, Reservoir Dogs. Mr. Blonde is drinking from a Big Kahuna Burger cup. Pulp Fiction, it's legitimately mentioned. In Reservoir Dogs, it wasn't mentioned. It's just the style is seen. There's a small scene where you see it on a countertop. The cup is on a countertop in Tarantino's segment from Four Rooms. It shows up in From Dusk Till Dawn. They bring a bag of Big Kahuna Burger back to the hotel room. There's a weird placement in Romy and Michelle's high school reunion. It's on a couch in a living room scene. That's because one of the people who worked on that movie was dating Tarantino at the time. So it was sort of like a little placement there.
Yeah.
Also, there's a small blink and you'll miss it Big Kahuna reference in The Adventures of Shark Boy and Lava Girl, which is another movie made by Rodriguez. There's an advertisement for it in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This fictional company has made its way through a lot of different things.
That company, and also, what is it? Red Apple Cigarettes?
Red Apple Cigarettes.
Yeah. It's in Death Proof, and it's in a lot of other films as well.
So in Death Proof, there's a second Tarantino cigarette brand as well. I think the only movie that this brand shows up in is Capital W Lights. That's the brand that Butterfly takes with her outside to go smoke. Another brand I need to mention, it relates to a movie that I personally loved, another indie film back in the day, an indie film called Suburbia, another Richard Linklater film. So that movie starred a guy called, his name is Nicky Katt. He also has a small cameo part in Planet Terror, but he shows up in Death Proof as a convenience store employee, a fictional convenience store called Circle A. Suburbia centered around a convenience store, a fictional brand convenience store, Circle A. Nicky Katt played Tim in that movie, and that's where his gang of friends all hung out.
In the bar, Jack Burton, who was from Big Trouble in Little China, who's played by Kurt Russell, his tank top is actually seen, it's hanging right above Jungle Julia, slightly kind of to the right of the AMI jukebox, or AMI jukebox, however you want to say it. The jukebox is Tarantino's very own jukebox.
Yeah.
And it was actually trucked to Austin, Texas to be used in the film in its very own rig to keep it protected. And the list of songs on it is also handwritten by Tarantino. So one of the songs is You Can Never Tell by Chuck Berry. And that's the song that Mia and Vincent dance to in Pulp Fiction.
It goes to show you never can tell.
There's also another scene in there that stars Marcy Harrell. She does this scene where she plays the Southern boy who's trying to get Butterfly to get her a lap dance.
Your name, Butterfly.
Your name, Butterfly. It was actually part of her audition. It was a characterization she did for her audition. Tarantino ended up loving the audition so much that he wrote that part into the film just for her.
That's really cool.
And named the character Marcy. And it wasn't like a scene where I was particularly like, oh, that's so great. But it's one of those things where, you have an impression of somebody and you love it so much, so you're going to put it into your film.
Yeah.
And that's his little thing he did for her.
I really thought it was a fun little scene.
Sure,
like
yeah,
you said,
absolutely.
it wasn't great. You're
Out of
not
place
sitting
a little
there-
bit.
Yeah, it was a little out of place, but it was made to introduce the whole idea of
How Kurt Russell's character
how
ends
he
up
gets in with the girls.
the girls, yeah.
I thought she did a great job with it. It was fun. It was kind of quirky, kind of silly.
Yeah.
Very kind of Tarantino-ish. Another improvise on set was the scene where Kurt Russell's stuntman Mike is talking to Butterfly about the lap dance. And he says, well, I got this book. And everyone I meet goes in this book. Well, when he was doing it, he was doing sort of a John Wayne sort of, everyone I meet goes in this book. And you're going in the book.
Yeah.
And Kurt Russell was just getting tired and bored with doing that same take over and over. So he improvised the John Wayne affectation. Tarantino loved it.
Tarantino's like,
kept that
perfect, take
scene.
it. So there's Planet Terror, which we aren't talking about, but there are some like
It's going to come up by
crossovers.
proxy. Yeah.
But one that is in this scene in particular is the crazy babysitter twins.
Yeah.
So yeah, they show up in the lap dance scene.
They
in
do,
that,
yeah.
In that
It's kind of a cool little crossover
Yeah,
because, as
they're
you mentioned,
badasses in Planet Terror.
Planet Terror, there are some badasses
Yeah.
for sure.
So according to the Tarantino universe, the aficionados, this is the third appearance of Jungle Julia. The first was Unruly Julie in My Best Friend's Birthday from 1987. She's mentioned as a rival DJ to Clarence. The second one is as Wayne Gale's assistant in Natural Born Killers.
Oh, right. Her name gets referenced in Planet Terror. There's a segment that is...
Another crossover. There's also a segment that I just love where Kurt Russell is getting in his car, where he turns the camera and breaks the fourth wall.
a little kind of sly wink.
Yeah, before he gets into Chevy Nova, he kind of looks right in the camera and kind of smiles a little bit.
yep.
Yeah. It's actually an homage to Burt Reynolds. And Burt Reynolds actually has done this in several movies, which involve fast cars.
Yep. Very prominently in Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah. So during the first crash, the four girls are listening to Dave, Dee, Dozy, Beaky, Mick, and Titch.
Uh-huh.
In 1960, Eddie Cochran was killed in England when he was thrown through the windshield of his taxi when it hit a light pole. A young police cadet at the station responsible for the investigation taught himself to play guitar with Cochran's impounded Gretsch from the wrecked car. His name was David Harmon, later to become Dave D. A big rabbit hole, big roundabout, doesn't make a lot of sense, and the connection's very small, but involved in a crash, became part of that band. That band was used in this film.
Because I love Zatoichi as a character, and some of the films I think are pretty awesome. For those that don't know, Zatoichi he's a famous character created by Shimozawa Kan in 1948. Been around a while. He's known for being a blind, wandering swordsman / I guess an easy way to say it is a masseur, but he's incredibly good with a sword. Like, nobody would expect it because he's blind, right? Well, in a scene when stuntman Mike first starts talking to Jungle Julia and the rest of her friends, he says,
Wait a minute. You got a billboard by Big Kahuna Burger, don't you?
Basically just above her across the street is a Jungle Julia billboard. So he just mentioned a Jungle Julia billboard way across town when there's one sitting right there across the street. So she kind of looks at him and she says,
Yeah. I got one there too, Zatoichi.
Calls him Zatoichi because he's so blind he didn't see the big billboard right there.
It's a reference I don't think a lot of people would have gotten.
Maybe not. If you haven't seen any of the Zatoichi movies, if you like old martial arts movies, definitely worth checking a few of them out. He carries this cool sword cane. It's like a cane that has a sword hidden in it, which is friggin' awesome. Anyway.
When you're old and frail, you're going to want one.
That would be the best.
Hey, Brandon, there's a Wilhelm scream in this film.
Moving on to the next segment.
I know how much you love Wilhelm screams.
Yeah, I do. All right, tell us about the Wilhelm scream.
It is not a lot to tell. It's just you could hear it right after, and this is a spoiler, so...
Okay, spoilers happening in 5, 4... Okay, go now.
Kind of a spoiler. I mean, you probably figured it's sort of going to happen, but...
I think I'm going to have to give you a rain check.
Well, since you'll be leaving in the next couple of days, that rain check will be worthless.
Right after the car runs over Arlene's face, you hear a Wilhelm scream, and I think it's a Wilhelm scream that's supposed to be like Stuntman Mike screaming as he bolts over the car.
Yeah.
It's very out of place.
Hooray! Wilhelm
I know you don't
scream,
love
my
that,
favorite
but
thing in the
I
world.
love Wilhelm
A
screams.
lot of people do. I don't mean to take the fun out of it for everybody, but I just don't.
To each his own. You can't be everyone's cup of tea.
Right. Well, that brings us to the, I guess, transition point.
There's a
between
transition
the two
point.
films.
Yeah, and it's in the hospital after the first incident.
Yeah. Hospital setting. If you have seen Planet Terror, you'll recognize this hospital, most likely because it's the same hospital that appears in Planet Terror.
Or if you don't recognize the hospital, you would definitely recognize the employees
Yes,
in it.
you'll recognize the sheriff and his sheriff
Son?
deputy's son, and you'll recognize the doctor. So the sheriff, played by Michael Parks, Earl McGraw. His son, his name is Edgar McGraw, played by James Parks. Real-life father and son, playing in-movie father and son. It also happens to be Earl McGraw shows up in Planet Terror, From Dusk Till Dawn, Kill Bill, and then Edgar McGraw shows up in Kill Bill, Machete, and From Dusk Till Dawn too.
Regulars.
Weird little connection that way. But Leia, there's a third person we see in that sequence. That third person, also the character, not the actor. The character happens to be related to the two McGraws as well. Dr. Dakota Block's maiden name is McGraw. She is the sister to Edgar, daughter of Earl.
I don't really see it's any of your business.
Come on now, sis. You just tell us.
There's a cutscene where Stuntman Mike is shown masturbating in his flipped over car after his first crash.
Mm-hmm.
They deemed it unnecessary. Shock. Because the following scene has the two cops hypothesizing that Stuntman Mike's actions were sexual in nature.
Yeah.
That the murders got him off. Didn't have to be gratuitous about it.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of glad they cut that part.
I'm glad they cut it too.
But it's interesting that they even thought they were going to do that, because that would have been a weird scene, I think.
It definitely would have been out of place.
Kind of reminds me of the movie Crash.
That's this idea on a large scale.
On a large scale and not as gross.
Yeah.
Not as gross.
And David Cronenberg, what a...
I just remember watching that film once and being like, what am I watching?
It's an experience.
There's also a scene in this segment where Sheriff McGraw refers to Stuntman Mike as Frankenstein. Probably a reference to Roger Corman's film Death Race, 2000, from 1975, where the protagonist, who's a race car driver named Frankenstein, played by David Carradine, and David Carradine also starred in Quentin Tarantino's Kill Bill films.
Mm-hmm. We see Stuntman Mike wearing this weird kind of large wristwatch. It's like a leather bangle wristwatch. And we see on both of his death-proof cars a hood ornament that looks like an angry duck. Both of those...
Pissed off rubber ducky.
Right. Both of those are direct reference to the movie Convoy, where Chris Christopherson plays a character, nickname is Rubber Duck. On his truck, on the hood, is that hood ornament, the exact same hood ornament of the angry-looking duck, and his character wears that exact same wristwatch.
Is this another car movie?
Yes, Convoy, yeah. Kind of car aggression.
Car aggression. Yeah. Nothing like that movie where the tire is killing people.
Rubber? No.
No?
Not like that.
No, okay. I just got to say something that's just totally adorable, because it's about Rosario Dawson again, and I'm just obsessed with her. According to Quentin Tarantino, she loved the car scenes so much that even during the scenes where she wasn't being filmed, she requested to be in the car.
Yeah. Kind of ducking down in the back.
She's adorable.
That's pretty awesome.
In keeping with adorableness, Zoe Bell, when Quentin Tarantino told her she'd be starring in the movie, she thought she would just be like a featured extra.
Oh, yeah. She's a stunt performer.
Yeah, she didn't think she'd be like starred in
roles.
it or anything. Yeah. She only caught on when she saw her name on the movie poster.
Yeah.
She didn't get it. She was like, he was going to literally have her star in the movie.
I think you mentioned that she insisted on doing all of her stunts, right?
Insisted on it. Yeah. She was not going to do it if she was not going to be able to do all of her own stunts.
She made the argument to Tarantino saying, hey, if you cast someone else in this role, I'd be doing those stunts
anyway
for her.
Yeah.
So let me just do the stunts.
Just do it, which makes sense.
It totally does. So Tarantino had no argument against that. So he was like, all right, here we go.
Yeah.
At the very end of the film, there's a sequence where they drive through a boat.
Did you just hit a boat?
Right? She's like, did you just hit a boat?
Yeah.
I
remember that.
Yeah, no, it's crazy funny and I love it. It's so out of place, but it's so great. That is another direct reference to Gone in 60 Seconds because that happens in the chase scene at the end of that film as well.
In the original Gone in 60
The
Seconds?
original, not that Angelina bullshit.
When I think of the newer Gone in 60 Seconds, so I don't think of Angelina Jolie. I think of
Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, I think of Nicolas Cage because I like Nicolas Cage. And we had talked about, like, these are different segments, but Kurt Russell's kind of the only character that really interweaves. He can actually be seen eating in the background through the diner scene in the film's second half before he chases the girls down.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't notice that. I'll have to take a look and see.
I didn't either, but he can be seen eating in the background. So he was already stalking them at the very beginning of the second segment.
Well, and that's the way he stalks them. And particularly in the way that he takes photographs of all of his chosen victims. Because in giallo films, that's a big trope with the killer. Typically, they like taking photographs from a distance of the women, usually women, that they intend to victimize.
Yeah. And that was a big focus in this film, too. I mean, you even see a scene where he throws some of the photographs. He finds them, and he throws the photographs out the window.
Yeah. Giallo films would have been another film subgenre that Tarantino, if he was a regular goer at grindhouse cinema, he would have seen a lot of giallo films because that's where they would have been primarily shown.
Abernathy gets a phone call, and you can kind of very briefly hear the ringtone of that. And it's the same whistling tune from Twisted Nerve from 1968. And that's the same sound that Tarantino had Elle Driver whistling when she entered the hospital in Kill Bill Volume 1.
That sort of whistling tune that, if you've seen Kill Bill, that
you know.
All you have to say is that whistling song. Yep. That's the one.
Towards the end, stuntman Mike crashes into a marquee for the Starlight Drive-In. And there's two movies that are featured on there, Scary Movie 4 and Wolf Creek. The Australian horror classic Wolf Creek from 2005 is considered one of Tarantino's favorite all-time horror films. He loves that. I was reading about it. I don't think I've seen it, but I was reading about it. It is bloody.
We saw it in the theater.
Did we really?
Yeah.
It's really gory. Oh my God, I love my memory. Yeah. I get to watch it again and it'll be like new again.
Whole new experience.
I love it. It sucks, but I love it.
Yeah. The killer's name was Mick, I believe.
Yeah. Tarantino even briefly considered having the main actor of Wolf's Creek, whose name is John Jarrett, star as stuntman Mike.
Yep.
But then that fell through for some reason. He had a lot of other people he wanted to do for the role too, and they fell through, and that's when they ended up getting Kurt Russell instead,
You're so used to seeing Kurt Russell as the good guy or the hero or the funny guy. The harmless guy. The Jack Burton kind of goofy, can't do anything right kind of guy.
This just goes to show that his acting skills go far beyond that. I love when they cast people who are traditionally cast in like nice roles. Like it was The Rules of Attraction.
With James Van Der Beek?
Yes, where he put James Van Der Beek in as the bad guy. And I was like, God, it's such a good casting for that role.
Yeah, it really is. And when you think about the fact that The Rules of Attraction, in the same universe as American Psycho, the James Van Der Beek's character is the brother of Patrick Bateman from American Psycho. So it's very interesting.
The connections run deep there.
I've got two overarching concepts. So at the end of the film, Zoe and Abernathy and Kim chase down stuntman Mike and beat the ever-living shit out of him.
Oh, yeah. It's a slugfest.
So they pull him out of the car, and before that, he gets shot in the shoulder, and he's crying like a damn baby. Like it seems like he has no idea what to do with pain.
He's a stuntman. You think he'd be used to it.
You'd think so.
Yeah.
He's scared, he's whining, he's crying, he's blubbering, he's out of his mind. When you watch the original Mad Max from 1979, in the very early part of the film, there's a bad guy. His name is Knight Rider. He also likes to terrorize people with his cars. He sort of gets off on it. Him and his girlfriend are riding around the countryside, terrorizing people, typically playing chicken with folks, and then kind of chasing and harrying their car, just like stuntman Mike does. At one point early in the film, Knight Rider does that chicken game with the wrong guy. He comes across Max, and he does that chicken game to Max. Well, of course, Max is not fucking around.
I'm not playing that game. We don't play games.
So Max turns around after Knight Rider blows past him and start chasing his ass down. As soon as Knight Rider is being chased and run off the road by Max, he starts crying and losing his mind in the car. So he's crying and whining, and his girlfriend's trying to console him like she's never seen him like this before. So that may be a kind of a direct personality reference between the two.
That scene was pretty iconic in this film because you get a sense of who he really is. You know, he's this big machismo macho man, but at the core, he's pathetic.
A big fucking baby.
Big, pathetic loser baby.
Only other thing that I have to mention about this film to kind of wrap up what I've got kind of branches off of that just a little bit. Branches? Did I say branches? Prances?
Yeah.
Oh, I said branches is what I meant to say.
I thought you said
but if I said
prances off of
prances,
that.
that's pretty cool too. I like that.
Yeah.
So this last thing I have to say kind of prances off of this. So the first half of the movie, the girls, they're smoking weed, they're drinking, they're talking about boys, they're dressed sort of scantily clad, right? Showing off legs and tight clothing.
Feet.
In most horror films, those are the kind of women that are killed,
Yeah.
right?
They're the ones who die
sluts,
first. Yeah.
quote unquote. In the first half, that's the kind of women you get. In the second half, the women are all dressed much more, not conservatively, but they're dressed nicely.
Yeah, like you'd go to the convenience store wearing whatever they're wearing. Yeah.
And none of them are smoking, none of them are drinking. They're
They all
just
have really
they're all
good
hanging
jobs,
out.
yeah.
They all have good jobs. They're the ones that there's even a point where they're
In fact, the
talking
only one
about
who
how
isn't dressed is Lee,
and
but
she
she's
gets left behind with a rapist.
With the rapist.
But there's a segment where they're all talking at the diner. Kim mentions how she's got a gun, right? She's holding a gun, and Lee is kind of thrown off by this. Lee and Abernathy both are kind of like, oh God. what?
Abernathy's like, I know she has
Yeah.
one. I'm not a fan.
And Lee is just
What?
flabbergasted.
Yeah.
Kim says,
That if I go down to the laundry room in my building at midnight enough times, I might get my ass raped.
Lee kind of,
Don't do your laundry at midnight.
and
Oh,
Kim
do
is
my
like,
laundry whenever I
that's
want to do a
ridiculous.
damn laundry.
I should, I want to do my laundry when I want to do it.
Fuck that, I want to do my laundry whenever the fuck I want to do my laundry.
And that is a very poignant idea because women shouldn't have to worry about what time they're doing their laundry.
Or
just
what they're
because,
wearing when they do it.
Or what they're wearing, all because some man can't keep his fucking dick in his pants.
Yeah.
There's zero reason for a woman to ever be abused or accosted or treated that way, no matter what she's wearing or what
Or
she's
told
doing.
they deserve it because they were asking for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
The only people to blame when a woman is raped are the men who rape them.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Plain and
I don't
simple.
care what any situation is.
Yeah.
100% that's the only person at fault.
Agree.
Anyway, the second half of the movie is all about these women who are more empowered than the women in the first.
Mm-hmm.
And the first half of the movie also is kind of, it's scratched up, it's old looking, it's old in its
Old and busted.
style of storytelling, which is sort of leads you to believe that's sort of an older American belief.
Yeah.
Well, now you've got a more modern sensibility in the second half. The film is clean. The overall aesthetic is brighter and, the women are stronger, more competent, and except for...
Same shit still happens to them.
Yeah.
But they get something up on them.
They turn the fucking tables on the
Yeah.
guy, right?
Interesting thought process. I
weird
like
little
that.
overarching theme there.
Kurt Russell and Mary Elizabeth Winstead, they both appeared in Sky High from 2005. And they both appeared in separate times,
Mhm.
the movie The Thing.
Oh yeah, because one is the early the good version.
And the other one is the newer version.
The Thing, the 82 version, one of my favorite sci-fi horror films of all time.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I think that's a great way to cap this.
Yeah. All right, Brandon. We do have that triple feature coming up. I got to start the projectors up.
Yeah,
and so I think
There's a lot that
yeah.
needs to get done yet.
there's a lot that needs to get done yet. So
Before we get to the admin part of all of this, can you please just let everyone know what's coming soon at the movie theater lobby?
yeah, sure. So next week we'll leave behind the grimy grindhouse and step into some highfalutin production
Oh,
in the colorful and clean La La Land.
a little musical time.
We haven't done a musical yet, have we?
No, we haven't yet. This will be our first one.
I'm excited.
Yeah, it'll be a good time, I think. We've got La La Land on the books, but before everyone goes away with that little La La Land dreams in their head, please check us out at the movie theater lobby and at the movie theater lobby at gmail.com if you want to contact the show directly. Leia, why don't you tell everybody where they can find us on socials?
Yeah, so you can find us at the Movie Lobby on Blue Sky, Facebook, and Instagram, as well as the Movie Theater Lobby, and it's the Movie Theater Lobby
Yeah.
on YouTube.
On top of all that, while you're listening to us, just feel free to move up that little bit on your podcatcher and just poke some stars at us. Whatever you think we deserve, then don't forget to share us too. If you really like what we do and you really want us to keep on going, continuing to do what we want to do, we're going to need to grow a little bit. So please share us with friends and family, whoever you feel deserves to be subjected to what we do.
Yeah. Coworkers.
Coworkers, also good. Along the way, if you want to stop off and say hi to me personally, you can. Find me at Blue Sky, Brand MC. Even better than that, stop and say hi to Leia.
You can find me, Leia McClevey, at LM Nerd Room on all of the previously mentioned socials and at lmnerdroom@gmail.com if you got something real important
There
to
we
tell
go.
me.
She will take your big messages. And then finally, Leia, we got to say, as we always do, thank you to the folks who give us their time and attention every week.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. We super, really, honestly, 100% genuinely
Appreciate
Can I put any more adjectives on top of
you
all
can't.
this?
Well, you could.
Thank you.
You could keep
thank
going.
you.
You don't need to.
Thank you all for listening. We really appreciate it. Of course, Leia, thank you.
Thank you, too.
And we bid you all adieu as we go on to other things.
Let's start this triple feature. Triple, double,
quadruple,
double,
triple, 6 quadruple, whatever.
Feature.
Yeah, got it. Nailed it. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Hey! Woo! Hey! Ladies! That was fun!